at 10, there was a court order that you go to your dad. So before that court order, were you staying with your mom?
Yes. I remember one incident, that was so funny. 2 of our big sisters who lived with us, so I identified one as auntie and one as cousin. And the 2 big offenses, I made a big issue out of the 2 of them.
Our vision is to disciple the earth, one family at a time, teaching them God's true intention and purpose for family life, love, dating, and marriage.
Tell us a bit about your story. You've shared with me a few times about how, where you came out from and how that. I want to hear a bit of the story and how you ended up doing family life. So start from the beginning.
Okay. Perhaps this is the only place I'll be this elaborate. You know how it is with Africa, sometimes you want to talk about your family, it looks like,
Yes.
So disclaimer, or is it disclaimer? Okay, warning. Right? A family is a very good family, we're fine. Okay? So certain things I'll say will be for context.
Yes.
Because you see, a lot of people will also not say the truth, and all of us are from somewhere.
Yes.
It's just like sometimes when somebody wants to say, hey, you want to marry a Nigalama? I say all of us get winch.
Yes.
It's just different brands. So, or when my tribe, I criticize some people. I'm like, do you know the kind of bad things where they are? All right. Yeah. So my parents were separated. I was 8. I was 8.
You were child number what?
Number 1. I'm first child, first son.
Whoa.
First everything. All right. Yeah. So my parents were separated quite early, and we were 4 already at the time. Yeah. By the time I was 10, they were already divorced. I've been a stepson 3 times. I'm even currently a stepson. Whoa. So this question you asked me is wide, it's broad, because it touches on a lot of things for me. So first of all, it's many of us are actually accustomed to being from dysfunctional homes. And sometimes we're even ashamed to talk about it because we think it is judging our fathers. No, sometimes we have to actually tell the story and draw the lines to what is right or what is not right. And I give it to my dad. There's something my dad says very freely, and he doesn't lie about it. In fact, Father's Day recently, when he was saying the blessing over me, we had just had some exchanges. He's always bold to say, you will not fail where I failed. So the person you are trying to protect sometimes knows that, whether they say it or not, that system isn't right. It didn't deliver the goods, And sometimes he would throw some counsel to say, look, that was not it. It's not, we made the mistakes, My mom went home to be with the Lord about 10 years ago now. As at the time, they had been divorced for over 20 years. She didn't remarry. She chose not to remarry. But like everything that comes with systems of a broken home, you now begin to break the children, whether you like it or not. Because we had this movement back and forth. I know firsthand what it means to be handed over based on court order, because by court order, we needed to be handed over to my dad. So So I was passed on with my siblings to my dad. The last was the one with my mom, because she was still quite young. So my journey to a new mother began, and it was funny because our fathers in Africa especially would call your stepmom your mom.
Yes.
So you are conflicted, but you are you are a minor and cannot challenge the systems you disagree with. So your mind is going, and that's why if you check, now this is not just from personal experience, if you look through counseling, you will see that children who are from such systems, if they do not encounter God, which I will soon talk about in step relationships, become, conditioned to hate. Because you couldn't voice out your disapproval for what you were forced to do to call mother one you considered wicked. So, and you don't have a choice. So your mind is also thinking, I have a mother. Yeah. So through counseling and personal experience, you realize that growing up, you come to the point where you are easily accused of fighting your mother's battle. It's technically not a lie, even when the person is maintaining a clean heart. It is that this person has been injured for so many years, being denied the proper reference. So, you know, here was I, okay, 10, mother, mommy, daddy, mommy, daddy, mommy. All right. Then, of course, some of the things that go with a broken home, parents lose it sometimes and use you to settle their scores by talking down on the other party to you, the child. I mean, that's completely unacceptable, but that's reality. You know, sometimes we pretend about these things. And that's why somebody may actually be watching who has damaged their children. You need to pray and apologize if you can. Of course, a lot of parents will not. You act, because some people just don't know what I'm talking about. So you are talking about the person's mother while calling somebody they consider wicked their mother. You know. So now again, another disclaimer. I'm very cool with my only living stepmom, or the two. My mama in the house right now, and my other the first stepmom I had. I had one.
No, you have to take it
slowly.
Yes. So
all right. So
when at 10, there was a court order that you go to your dad. So before that court order, were you staying with your mom?
Yes. All of us were with my mom.
My mom. Oh, so your dad was just pursuing the case in court?
Yes. All of that was on. So, yeah.
So when they finally gave the judgment, the court order was that you should go to your dad?
Yeah.
Do you know why that?
No, I didn't bother. And I have not bothered.
Okay.
Because there are things that I don't even need to.
You need information. Okay. So you were now moved to your dad. By that time, your dad had remarried.
Yes.
So there was a woman in the house. So how did that play out? So start from there. So what happened? How
Well,
was that?
first of all, you are just too innocent to understand. And that's why it's so critical, the space we have children. We couldn't understand. Like, it's now I can process certain things. I didn't understand, you know. And it's even damning how much of understanding was lacking. Because you can't even feel the pain of your mother. You can't feel the pain of your father where he's pained. All right, but of course in societies like ours, the person who appears all strong and all fine is the male.
Yes.
And especially when the male is the one who remarries, like in our case.
Yes.
So that is all fine. You run into mom crying many times, so many times, like too many to count before we even left, you know. Then of course some of the not too good things that follow a broken home follows. Like seeing my mom became a big deal. Really, really big. Yeah, wow. Absolutely. You know, sometimes this modern concept of baby mamas do not make people know what some other people who have been through broken homes have been through. So it's not co-parenting as easy as people think.
It is.
You know, we saw our mom a couple of times under certain conditions, like she'll come to the city we lived, then we'll be released with our cousins, like perhaps 1 hour to see her in her brother's place. Now imagine when you have to see your mom and with some rules, like no eat, no drink, no this. Yeah, absolutely. We actually don't speak about how powerful the male is when some of these things happen. And of course, you're a child, you've got to obey. So you see, this is wiring the child in a very funny way. You see, that's why sometimes some fathers do not know why a child grows up after that degree of denial and latch onto their mom so strongly. Because you may think that the connection will be lost. No, that bond is too strong. All right? So then from that, that phased in, senior secondary passed, to university, and it was not a phone generation. So there were times I would go like 2 years, no form of contact with my mom. Absolutely no form of contact. Like, yeah. It was not phones. I mean, I was in Zaria, she was in Lokoja, where she worked on, she passed. So it was a major trip whenever she made it. It was not, I mean, just think back like 20 years ago, it was a major trip. It was not just something you casually do or get your driver, drive me. No, she didn't have a driver, you know, she didn't have a car. So she was just building her life, doing her best, praying for us. You know, so all of those will happen then, of course, as you're trying to navigate that, you're also now navigating step relationships that you cannot, you're not even equipped to handle. You know, I remember one incident, that was so funny, because my dad is this very wonderful person. Anybody in the house is considered a child. So there were no lines of cousins,
Yes.
you know. And innocent me, I was just in senior secondary. So I sat, and two of our big sisters who lived with us, I mean, again, the structure is everybody is family.
Yes.
So I identified one as auntie and one as cousin. And they took big offense and made a big issue out of the two of them. The one that was identified as cousin. Like, I'm drawing lines, oh, Jesus Christ. I'm like, I was too innocent to understand what she was saying. It's just like a child saying, my father's brother is my uncle.
Yes.
Then in African context, the uncle is angry because he's father. I don't know. Then, of course, like I always say, step relationship. And now, some of these things I put in context is because even some people involved, when they watch this, they should understand this is not from bitterness.
Yes.
But step relationship comes with automatic suspicion. Because, like, suspicion is installed in step relationship. You need to uninstall it by yourself. It's already there.
Yes.
You know, so you're already, for some people, a threat.
Yes.
Because you are male.
Yes.
You know, because you're a man. Like, I don't understand why. I'm just trying to live my life. So, I had my brother, praise be to God, he's even a pastor right now in his church. You know, right now, you can't see us relate and draw a step line. You know, but of course, his beloved mom, my first stepmom, we're still in touch, we're still in contact, we're all good. But it was a tough season.
But so when you moved into the house, new mom, how was that relationship? Was it obvious? Did you miss your mom? Did life continue almost as it was before?
It cannot. It cannot. And not necessarily because she did anything wrong. Her personality was very tough. She's the cleanest woman I've lived with in my life. Like, our living conditions was quite poor at the time. My dad was really, really just struggling, you know, to get things going. Because my dad went to school after I was born. He was a pure village man. My dad is a success story of another dimension. Wow. Like, my dad can be used to typify grass to grace. Wow. No formal primary education, just one class, as adult education. No formal secondary education. As a mechanic in fire service, borrowed books, 5 courses, 5 subjects, SSC, and wrote and got 5 C's. Wow. Yes. Then the SBS, then university and lawyer, and all of. My dad is prototype of the Nigerian dream. Yes. Like, first generation educated in my family. So that's the backdrop of all of this conversation. But my first stepmom, Jesus, cleanest soul on earth. So imagine meeting a different system. And she was tough. If she flogs you, you are flogged. So, I used to say this so that I am fair to people. I say that if your mom is a disciplinarian, chances are that you grew up thinking, are you really my mom? Now, yes. Transfer that to a stepmom.
So the real situation where they are not your mom.
Exactly. So right now, I can't fairly judge what was overboard, what was not, but she was tough. I don't remember a lot about my childhood because it was a lot. I don't, to be honest. Like, when people talk about their primary school mate, the only thing I remember about primary school is in Lokoja, I was head boy of St. Luke's at Dankolo. I don't remember nothing. So when some people reach out now on Facebook, like, where is, I don't know. But I will never forget that woman just walking by and say, is that body odor I just perceived? Like, whoa. That was my first encounter with some of those things. Unfortunately, the marriage didn't last for long. And the marriage didn't work.
Like how long?
About 5 years.
Did she have her own children?
Yeah, my brother. My brother that I said, you can't know about step-things until I say, or anybody mentions. We're very cool. We can talk about that later, how we got to that place. I mean, we're all children of God, born in for Jesus. Like I said, even her, we have a great relationship. Because at that point, the unfortunate other thing is offense comes to you because of your mother. Because people make comments that they are not even watchful of because they think they can speak and get away. So your dad is speaking times that he doesn't even know. Your stepmom is speaking things that, you know, should not be said. Now, so imagine meeting your mom. You know, I won't, because my mom is late now, start defending her. She would also pour her own frustration, you know, and also check, like, I hope she's treating you guys right. Hope this. So you're in that conflict where what two of you are doing offends me already, but I don't have a voice. You meet with your own mom, you are dealing with the pressure of, she's not there to care for you. So all of that goes in. Then of course, if you meet her as disciplined as she was and clean as she demanded, you could step into a very poor apartment at that time and not pick a grain of sand under your feet.
Wow.
Clean, you will clean, you will wash, you will. So that's the most I remember about her. And of course, the beating was not funny. Like, it was real.
Was it regular?
As regular as sunshine. As regular as sunshine.
Oh.
And of course, my dad too had his fair share of it. That generation did not discipline by talking. You know when they lure you into a room and lock door, and belt is flying, or cane is flying.
This is a terrifying
so many of that happened. And one of the things that I see very clearly, the generation also didn't know better. Because we grew up in conditions where there was a lot of external influence. So there's this uncle, in fact, let me describe a scenario, because that's how my mom's last baby passed, actually, eventually. We grew up in a situation where the family was so bonded that your father's brother can come visiting and say, I'm going with this one.
Yes.
And that's it. You are gone. You are now going to live with that one, wherever they're living. And at some point, that's what happened, that I also moved in with my uncle and farmed. I farmed for real. Whoa. Like real farming for 1 year plus. Whoa. Like I was with an uncle and we farmed properly. Some things happened because of all of those interference and people coming in. This one said this one said that. Some little situations happened. My dad was really angry. So this uncle took me in as the father, and do I have a choice? I don't have a vote in this matter. I ended up in Ajokuta farming. The intention was not to farm really, but I was supposed to get into a school. I don't know I've never been done. Like, I don't know what they said that I did not pass to continue in SS1. So after I had that gap, so we farmed and farmed. Eventually, I was taken back to, that's how I ended up in Kaduna for secondary. So for senior secondary, and my journey started in Christ Ambassadors College. So all of that interference, we had a lot of people come. Things that my dad do not take right now. Like, visitors that come without visa. Like, they just show up. They're around.
With their bag, yes.
So you have to create space, create room, give. All of that was going on. So then transited into my late stepmom. Very good woman. In fact, that's the first time I felt I buried my mother, or a mother, completely so. So that was at the turn of 2001 also, yeah.
So you were in secondary school this time?
Yes, I was in secondary school, and that's the first person that actually, at this time, I was already becoming like a boy, a man. That's the first person that gave me that impression of, you are the first son of this family.
Wow.
I remember coming back home, senior secondary student, and they gave me food in a plastic plate, and she fought. I said, that's the first son of this home. Wow. She's gone home to be with the Lord, but let's say the truth. She was the reason my other siblings who were still with my uncle were brought back. She stood her ground and told my dad to recollect his children back to his house. Yeah, I will say this till I die. So mine happened before that. Mine happened through reference. Some of my cousins at school in Christ Ambassadors College, two of them, two brothers, one had 9 A's, the other had 8. So it was a strong reference. My dad wasn't there yet, and that's another thing I completely give to my dad. He wanted the best for us within his means. So he arranged us. My uncle collected me in Kaduna because my dad couldn't make the trip. Like, it's not now you just a driver. Yes. So he put me in the bus. My uncle left Kano to Kaduna to receive me, take me to the school to write the test. I passed. That's how my journey in the hostel started. So it was while in the process of that, they paid a visit to my uncle, and she said, your children cannot live like this. Mm-hmm. So I fetched them back. Yeah, now, the stories are so good with her from the onset, not like later on we became good, but of course we still went through the normal, like I said, there's an automatic suspicion even where there's no need, But she continually demonstrated that heart that you couldn't fault. Like, she reached out to my mom.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not the cause of your divorce with the man. I'm not in the middle of it. He met me later and married me. So she shocked me several times. Like, my mom made more effort to see us at this time. Life was getting more open. So I remember one incident. My mom came around, and she was just around the street. So we could just go see her, greet her, before we do the one of whether we're going to visit her in her brother's place. She went across the street, knelt down to greet my mom.
No way.
Absolutely. In front of me, she was insisting that my mom comes into the house. Of course, my mom understood the nature of the conflict with my dad. That was going to be a no-no. And that was going to put her in trouble.
Yes.
But I'm not saying story that she was demanding that my mom
What
comes
tribe is
in.
this?
Same tribe as us. You know, demanding that my mom comes in to the house and take a seat and see her children. You know, of course, my mom declined, but she paid all the respects to us, an older woman, and I was like, it left such an impression with me. In fact, funny enough, my sister, her daughter, you know, sometimes asked me questions because when her mom passed, she was just a little girl. You know, sometimes she asks me questions, and when I'm telling her, I think sometimes she suspects that I'm just being kind because her mom is late. And I'm like, no. Again, just like my mom, that was one of the first persons who acknowledged the grace of God on my life. So at that point, I was already doing programs from secondary school. She would give me money to pay for venue.
Wow.
Attend the program from start to finish. So she also looked to me for counsel a lot of times. You know, now my dad don't like this, but she'll talk about their marriage and ask me, counsel, then we pray, then, you know, all of this kind of stuff. So she was that woman with that her heart was so, from the onset, it was just that way. You know, unfortunately, the year I was called to bar, she passed, and it was really tough. Like, we were cool. You know, we had plans.
Wow.
We had...
How many years was she in the marriage?
About 7, you know. So 2001, okay, 2001 to 2009, you know, so I was called in 2009, and I remember when we were getting married in, okay, don't get emotional, just calm down. I remember when we were getting married in 2010, the way I celebrated her at my wedding, some people thought it was my mom.
Oh.
So we had video presentation, we honored her memory because she didn't meet Julia, but they had spoken on phone.
Oh.
And she was all as welcoming as my mom. She was looking forward to, you know, their meeting.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so great. But that happened, and you know, we had to just carry on. She had 2 children. The younger one was under 2 at the time, but we were able to navigate that, and even my dad, I really saw how tough that was. Like,
it broke.
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing when you have a mix of adult children and young children, and you lose a spouse because the woman holds the home. There are certain things I was saying I didn't understand back then, to be honest. You know, because my immediate younger sister was finishing school. I was serving back home. In fact, the death necessitated I served at home, back in Benue. And my dad's profile continued to rise, professionally speaking. So we literally were like now the homemakers with our younger ones, you know. So I was going to get married in 2010. My dad remarried earlier in the year 2010, sometime about July or so. We were December, because of course...
So your dad married the same year?
What a question. Yeah, now that's what's leading to the dynamics I'm talking about. Yeah, so July and December. Yeah. So my 2 youngest siblings are actually contemporaries of my children. So like I would have a sibling 5 months later. Yes. I had a son. Yes. Then I have a sibling 5 months later or 6 months later. I have another child. So you know, yeah, it was cool, because my siblings and my brothers they are very close.
Yes, so
they're always fighting us to take them. They want to sleep over. They are so
cool. Your sons are playing with their uncles. Yeah, so they're even older than their uncles.
My dad is always reminding them that it's like uncles. You know, and it's just so amazing. Yeah, but that's another phase, because at this point, you see, the journey started with being step at 10. Now you are in your 30s. So the dynamics are completely different. You now have opinion. You now want to think for your dad how the family should have been. You know, I look back now, and this is not just taking a blanket of blames and just saying nothing was wrong with the system. But, and I say this particularly because many people may find themselves in that place and have unnecessary conflict. Like, we had plenty of it, like plenty. I mean, there's no need to flog it or talk. Some people who know our family may have heard one or two. But I love the way my dad always puts it. Okay, it's good though. Some people are carrying dagger on each other. No, not dagger. It was just disagreements, you know. But I know, in fact, that formed part of a teaching I was doing in the church recently on Father's Day on honor. Like, I had to learn honor from the place of command of Scripture than just an emotion. Because at this point, you are judging what was not, what could be, what could not have been, who did what, who said what. You know, all of those things about, you live this history. You are not being told a story. So you see, and I think that's actually the foundation of most step relationship issues. So we navigated quite some waters where, you know, disagreements, you no longer go into the house. That's your father's house, for God's sake. I'll never forget the day I came to my dad's house. That was after quite a while of, there was an issue and I just minded my business, you know, the pride of a man, I can live my life without you. Yes, I did it all. So one of those days after church, I packed my whole family. We went to the house. One question, jam question. What are you looking for? I said, I came to see my father. So you now remember your father. It was, oh Jesus, oh God. I mean, I came with my wife and 3 children. You are giving me a question. You know, we navigated all of those because at this point, you're now dealing with opinion. You're dealing with independence. You have the capacity to walk away and you don't care. You know, and unfortunately, that's why some families are still at that point, where people are broken apart. You have this faction of the family, that faction of the family, not talking, not relating, hating on each other. I mean, we could have graduated to that point. That's the honest truth. Because those things happen, and unfortunately, sometimes assumed accusations hit deeper than real accusations. You know, when somebody just suggests that you're doing this because you're offended on behalf of your mom. Like, come on. No. I am human. And sometimes the children involved in broken home situation are dealing with trauma. Like real trauma. Like having to forgive people who do not see what they did. That's a big deal. Like, we can't talk about this enough because within the context of Africa, like, if I don't even trust my family, the maturity of even my father and the people in my family, I will not be talking like this on camera. Yeah. Some families, this is enough to start another civil war. Yeah. But the facts are the fact. Do people go through trauma? Because again, you know, part of the question you asked is how I transited. Because at a point, part of what I needed to do, that was at university, is to actually realize that where you came from is not the picture. Straight. You're not fighting anybody, I'm not apportioning blame, who did what. Till today, let me even say it. I do not know, do not want to know the exact reason who is at fault, who is not at fault, why my parents' marriage broke. It is investigation that is useless. She's even in heaven, Kukuma. So what am I trying to do? To mend the tire or to patch it? I don't know. Because again, I don't want to come to the point where the honor code I should pick up based on God's word, I will now undo it by sitting as a judge. Oh, you did this, then you said this.
But how does a child feel when their parents divorce? Now you have the experience of having gone through it, and you have the experience of being a counselor and a coach, and now you have the experience of being a parent. So can you help us understand? Because some people might be considering divorce, whatever, or that they don't know how this is going to, you know, the view their children will have. So you tell us, what is that view? What is the perspective? What is the experience? What is the impact from a child's point of view when you see your mother and your father and you love both and they're about to go outside?